All right, so you've booked that trip, to an English-speaking country.
Yeah.
And you're a little worried about the language barrier.
Of course.
Well, we are diving deep today into essential English phrases for travel to help make your experience so much smoother, more enjoyable. All those little situations that you might find yourself in where you're not sure how to say something or you're worried about,
Yeah, for sure.
misunderstandings.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about all of that today.
Right.
We'll cover airports, hotels, restaurants, shopping, even emergency situations.
Very important.
So this will be really valuable to you.
Yes.
And we're going to give you not just, phrases, but really like
Exactly.
examples of how to use them, tips.
And how to feel comfortable using them.
Exactly.
Because that's really the key.
Yes.
Having those phrases at your fingertips can make all the difference. It's not about being fluent.
Yeah.
It's about feeling confident enough to communicate.
Exactly.
To ask for what you need to, get the information you need and really enjoy that travel experience.
Yes. So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Okay. You've just landed.
Right.
You're at the airport.
Yeah.
It's busy. Maybe you're a little jet lagged.
Yeah.
A little overwhelmed.
It happens.
And you need to find the check-in counter.
Okay.
So instead of wandering around,
Right.
looking lost,
Looking confused.
you can just confidently walk up and say,
Yes.
I'd like to check in for my flight to, and then your destination.
Exactly. Having that phrase ready,
Yes.
along with your boarding pass and ID,
Of course.
can really just make things so much smoother. And while you're there, if you're hoping for a specific seat, like a window seat or an aisle seat, don't hesitate to ask.
Right.
Is it possible to get a window or aisle seat?
It's like magic.
Yeah, it can work wonders.
I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Now, it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course not.
airlines sometimes have their own policies.
Right, they do.
But it's always worth asking.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's talk about baggage fees.
Oh, yes.
Because I've had that experience where I get to the counter
Right.
and I'm hit with all these fees that I didn't know about.
It's the worst.
And it's so frustrating.
Yes.
So to avoid that,
Mm-hmm.
you can proactively ask
Exactly.
before you even get to the counter, what is your policy on checked baggage?
Yes, it's so important because those baggage fees, they can really sneak up on you.
Mm-hmm.
They vary so much between airlines and countries,
Yeah.
so it's best to be prepared
Right.
to know what to expect
Exactly.
before you even approach the counter.
Okay, so we've checked in.
Yes,
We've dealt with our baggage.
we're good.
Now we are at security.
All right.
The security line can be a little bit,
Okay, it can be stressful.
stressful, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to remember, liquids, electronics, shoes, belts.
Exactly.
It's a lot.
It is.
So
Yeah,
instead of trying to remember all the rules,
Yeah.
you can just ask,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
do I need to remove my shoes?
Perfect.
Do I need to remove my belt?
Yes, just ask.
Simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much better
Yes.
than,
Then guessing
guessing. Yeah.
and potentially getting it wrong.
Or like holding up the line.
Exactly.
Because you're not sure.
Nobody wants to be that person.
Exactly.
So just ask and they'll let you know.
And don't forget to say thank you.
Oh, yes. Always be polite.
Yes.
Little courtesy goes a long way.
It really does.
Especially in a potentially tense situation like airport security.
Yeah. Even if you're feeling stressed, just be polite.
It makes a difference.
It makes a difference for everyone.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've made it through security.
We're doing well.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Now you need to find your gate.
Right.
And let's say, you're in one of those massive airports
Oh, yeah.
where the gates are like miles apart.
It happens.
You have no idea where you're going.
Right.
Well, the first thing you want to do is check the airport monitors.
Absolutely. They're usually pretty strategically placed throughout the terminal.
Yeah.
So you can get a general sense of where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And, before you even approach airport staff for help,
Yeah.
glance at those screens.
Right.
Get an idea of your gate's general direction.
Okay.
That way you can ask a more specific question.
Yeah, because, those airport staff, they're busy.
They have so many passengers to help.
So if you can be, have a little bit of information before you even approach them,
Right.
it makes it so much easier for everyone.
It makes their job easier, and it makes your experience smoother.
So let's say you've checked the monitors.
Yeah.
You still can't find your gate.
You need a little extra help.
Now what?
Now you ask, excuse me, could you tell me how to get to gate and then your gate number?
So you've got that gate number handy.
Exactly.
And again, just being polite.
Yes. Always be polite.
Using that, excuse me.
It goes a long way.
Yeah.
And be specific instead of just saying, where's my gate?
Yeah.
Give them that gate number.
That's helpful.
It helps them to help you.
Yeah. And there are often maps too.
Oh, yeah. Those airport maps can be lifesavers. Yeah. Sometimes they're a little confusing.
They can be.
But if you can get your hands on one, it can really help you to visualize where you need to go.
Okay. And one last tip for navigating the airport.
Right.
Many airports now have their own apps.
Yes, they do.
Download that app.
It's like having a personal airport guide in your pocket.
Yeah.
You can get maps, real-time flight updates. Yeah. You can even find restaurants and shops within the airport.
Amazing.
Super helpful.
Okay, you found your gate.
We're doing great.
You are doing great. But now you're hungry.
Of course.
You need a pre-flight snack or maybe a coffee.
All right, so we're heading to the food court.
Right.
Or one of those little airport cafes.
Yeah. And those can be a little intimidating.
They can be, especially if you're not sure how to order.
Yeah.
Or if the menus are in English.
Right.
And you're not quite sure what everything is.
Yeah, so let's say you want to get a coffee.
Okay, classic airport coffee.
Right.
So instead of just saying coffee, please.
Yeah, which could be anything.
Right, it could be anything. Yeah. Try being a little more specific.
Right.
Could I please get a large latte? Or can I have a cappuccino with an extra shot of espresso?
Ooh, I like that.
Be specific about what you want.
Yeah.
And it'll make the whole process much smoother.
And then, of course, you've got to have a pastry to go with that coffee.
Oh, of course, those airport pastries, they can be so tempting.
Yeah.
So, if you're eyeing a particular treat, don't be afraid to just point and say, could I also get that croissant, please?
Perfect.
Sometimes nonverbal communication is just as effective.
Right.
Especially in those situations where you're not quite sure how to say the word.
Okay, so we fueled up.
We're fueled up.
We've got our coffee. We've got our pastry.
We're ready to go.
We are ready for our flight.
Yes.
All right, so we've successfully navigated the airport.
We have.
Using a few key phrases.
Just a few key phrases.
But that's just the beginning.
Yes.
From here, we'll explore how to master those essential phrases.
Exactly.
For transportation, hotels, restaurants.
We got a lot to cover.
And more.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've conquered the airport.
Yes, we have.
Now it's time to tackle transportation.
All right.
So you've landed in a new city.
Yeah.
You're eager to explore. But first, you need to figure out how to get from point A to point B.
Absolutely.
And whether you're taking a taxi.
Yeah.
Or navigating the public transport system.
Right.
Or maybe trying out a ride-sharing service.
Yeah.
Having the right phrases can really make all the difference.
It really can. Transportation is often where communication can be the trickiest, especially in a foreign country.
Right.
But a little preparation goes a long way.
Okay, so let's start with taxis.
All right.
You've just grabbed your luggage.
Okay.
You've stepped outside the arrivals terminal.
Yeah.
And there's a line of taxis waiting.
All right.
What do you do?
So before you even approach a taxi,
right,
have your destination clearly in mind.
Right.
And if possible, written down or saved on your phone.
Okay, good tip.
This will just avoid any confusion or mispronunciations.
Right, especially if you're dealing with street names or landmarks that you're not familiar with.
You can't even pronounce.
Yeah.
So have it written down.
Okay, so you've got your destination.
Yeah.
You approach the taxi driver.
Okay.
What do you say?
A simple, can you take me? And then your destination, please. Works every time.
Easy.
And here's a crucial tip.
Okay.
Especially if you're unfamiliar with the city.
Yeah.
Always confirm the approximate cost before getting in.
Yes.
Because you don't want any surprises.
Oh, I've had those surprises.
Yeah, they're not fun.
Not fun at all.
So just to avoid that, you can simply ask, how much will it cost to get to? And then your destination.
Okay.
That way you know what you're getting into.
You can always, maybe negotiate a little bit or decide if you want to take a different form of transportation.
Right, or find a different taxi.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
All right, taxi situation handled.
We did it.
But now let's say you want to try the local bus or train system.
Okay.
You're feeling adventurous.
All right.
You want to experience the city like a local.
I love it.
But it can be a little daunting.
It can be.
Especially if you don't know the routes or the schedules.
Right.
So what do you do?
Well, a little pre-trip research goes a long way.
Oh, always.
Yes. So many cities now have excellent websites or apps for their public transportation systems.
So helpful.
So familiarizing yourself with the routes, the schedules, the fare options beforehand can really save you a lot of time and potential headaches.
Okay, so you've done your research.
Right.
You have a general idea of the bus or train line you need.
Yeah.
You're standing at the bus stop or the train station.
Okay.
Now what?
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Public transportation staff are usually very helpful, especially with tourists.
They're used to it.
They are.
Yeah.
So if you're unsure if you're on the right platform,
right,
or if a particular bus goes to your destination,
okay,
just ask, does this bus or train go to? And then your destination.
Simple.
Easy.
Okay, and what about ticket machines?
Oh, yeah.
Those can be intimidating.
They can be, especially if they're in a language you don't understand.
Right, and there are so many buttons and options.
So many options.
Sometimes, yeah.
But most of them have language options.
Oh, okay.
So look for a button or an icon that indicates language settings.
Okay.
And switch it to English if available.
Right.
If you're still struggling, don't hesitate to approach a staff member and say, could you help me buy a ticket to... and then your destination.
Perfect.
They'll be happy to help.
Okay, now what about transfers?
Oh, transfers.
Because those can be really confusing.
They can be.
You know, you're on one line, you have to switch to another.
Right.
You're not sure where to go.
Yeah, that's where having a map or a transportation app can be really helpful. But even with those tools, it's always a good idea to double check with staff.
Okay.
So you can say, do I need to transfer to get to and then your destination?
All right, so you've successfully navigated
We did it.
public transportation.
Yes.
You're feeling like a local.
Blending in.
You've arrived at your hotel.
Right.
Bags in tow.
Yeah.
Ready to check in.
Time to relax.
Freshen up.
Yeah.
And, you know, most hotels have staff who speak English.
They do.
But it's still helpful to have a few key phrases ready.
It can make things so much smoother, more efficient.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, when you're tired from traveling.
Right.
You just want to get to your room.
Okay, so you're at the reception desk.
Right.
What's your opening line?
I have a reservation under the name and then your name.
Classic. It works like a charm.
And of course, have your confirmation handy.
Yes, either printed or on your phone.
Yes.
Just in case there are any discrepancies.
All right, now what about special requests?
Okay.
Like if you want a room with a view.
Yes.
Or extra towels.
Absolutely.
Is it okay to ask for those things?
Of course, hotels are all about hospitality. They want to make their guests feel comfortable.
Right.
So don't hesitate to politely make your requests.
You could say, if possible, could I have a room with a view?
Okay.
Or would it be possible to get some extra towels?
I love those phrases.
Yeah. If
possible.
So polite.
Would it be possible?
It just shows respect.
Yes.
You know, and it goes a long way.
It really does.
In any cross-cultural interaction.
All right. So you've checked in.
We're in.
You're settled in your room.
Yeah.
Now it's time to explore the city's culinary scene.
Right.
Food is such a big part of the travel experience.
It is.
You know, it's a chance to savor new flavors, immerse yourself in the local culture.
Absolutely.
But ordering food in another language can be a little intimidating.
It can be.
So let's break it down.
All right, let's do it.
You found a charming little restaurant.
Okay.
You're seated at a table. The waiter approaches with the menu.
All right.
And you're ready to order.
Yeah.
But the menu's in English.
Okay.
And some of the dishes sound...
You have no idea what they are.
A little unfamiliar.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Don't panic.
Okay.
Waiters are there to help you navigate the menu. So if you're unsure about a particular dish, just ask, could you please tell me more about this dish?
Okay.
They'll be happy to explain it to you.
And what about dietary restrictions?
Oh, yes.
Because, you know...
Very important.
A lot of people have dietary restrictions these days.
Whether it's vegetarian, vegan.
Allergies.
Allergies, exactly.
So how do you communicate that?
It's crucial to communicate those needs up front.
Right.
So you can use phrases like, I'm vegetarian. Do you have any vegetarian options?
Okay.
Or, I have a nut allergy. Could you please tell me which dishes are nut-free?
So important.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
For your safety and for your enjoyment of the meal.
Okay. And sometimes, you know, you might want to clarify something on the menu.
Right.
Like maybe a dish sounds incredibly spicy.
Yeah.
And you're not sure if you can handle the heat.
Don't be afraid to ask for clarification. You can say something like, is this dish very spicy?
Okay.
It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yes. Especially when it comes to spicy food.
Especially spicy food.
All right. So you've ordered your meal.
We did it.
You've enjoyed a delicious culinary adventure.
Yes.
You're feeling very satisfied.
Full and happy.
And now it's time to pay the bill.
Okay.
So what's the most polite way to request the check?
When you're ready to pay, you can simply catch the waiter's eye and say, "Could I have the bill, please?"
Okay.
Yeah, easy.
And before you pull out your credit card or your cash,
Yes.
it's always a good idea to ask,
What's that?
do you take credit cards?
Oh, yes, because you don't want to assume.
No.
And then be caught in a situation where they only take cash.
Right.
It's always best to check.
Yes, and also tipping customs
Oh, yes.
can vary widely.
Around the world.
Yeah.
So if you're unsure about the tipping etiquette in the country you're visiting,
Right.
a discreet "is service included" can clarify things for you.
All right, so we have navigated transportation.
We have.
We've checked into our hotel.
Yeah.
And we have enjoyed a delicious meal.
We're doing great.
We are doing great.
Yes.
Feeling like a travel pro yet?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But hold on tight.
Okay.
Because next we're diving into the exciting world of shopping.
Right.
From bustling markets to charming boutiques.
Let's go.
Okay, so we've tackled transportation, we've checked into our hotel, and we've even navigated a restaurant menu.
We're on a roll.
We are now get ready for some retail therapy.
All right.
Whether you're browsing those bustling markets for unique souvenirs or strolling through, those chic boutiques for the latest fashions shopping in a new country.
Right.
It'd be such a fun experience.
It is. It's a great way to engage with local culture and bring home a piece of your travels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it can also be a little daunting if you're not sure how to communicate your needs.
Exactly.
Or ask about prices.
Yeah. Especially in a foreign language.
Right. So let's start with those.
Okay.
Vibrant, chaotic, utterly charming markets.
I love a good market.
I love exploring markets when I travel.
Me too.
They're just a sensory overload in the best possible way.
It's so true.
You've got those colorful textiles, exotic spices, handcrafted jewelry. It's amazing.
Yeah, markets are treasure troves of unique finds.
They are, but they can also be a little overwhelming.
They can be.
Especially if you're not sure how to navigate the bargaining process or ask about prices.
Yeah, because sometimes there are no price tags.
Right.
And you're kind of left wondering, how much is this?
Okay, imagine you're weaving through that crowded market. You spot the perfect souvenir.
Okay.
Maybe it's a beautiful scarf or a hand-painted ceramic bowl.
I love those.
You pick it up, you admire it, and then you realize
there's no price tag.
There's no price tag.
What do you do?
What do you do?
This is where those essential English phrases come in handy.
Yeah.
Instead of fumbling for words or resorting to, awkward gestures.
Right.
Just politely ask, "How much is this?"
Simple.
Easy.
And what about if you're looking for something specific?
Okay.
But you're not seeing it on display.
Right.
Like you're looking for a particular size.
Yeah.
Or a color.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Okay.
Shopkeepers are usually happy to help you find what you're looking for. Yeah. So you can try phrases like, "Do you have this in a smaller or larger size?" Or "Do you have this in a different color?"
Okay.
They might have it in the back, or, they might be able to order it for you.
And what about trying things on?
Oh, yes. Trying things on is crucial.
Because
especially for clothing and shoes.
Made that mistake.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Where I buy something and then get home and it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit at all.
Yes.
So always try things on.
Yes.
Just to make sure the fit is right before you make that purchase.
So you can just ask, can I try this on?
Perfect.
Okay.
Easy.
So we've mastered market shopping.
We have.
Now let's move on to those more upscale boutiques or department stores.
Right.
The vibe is definitely different.
It is a little more refined.
Right.
Yeah.
But those essential phrases, they're still your secret weapon.
Absolutely.
To a successful shopping experience.
In boutiques or department stores, you'll often encounter sales assistants who are eager to help you find what you're looking for.
Yes.
So don't hesitate to engage them in conversation.
Okay.
Ask for assistance.
What are some good phrases?
If you're looking for something specific, you can try phrases like, "I'm looking for a new dress for a special occasion."
Yeah.
Or, "Could you help me find a gift for my friend?"
Perfect.
Just give them an idea of what you're looking for.
And then if you need a different size, or you want to see if something comes in a different color,
you can ask, "Do you have this in a size?" and then your size.
Or, "Does this come in any other colors?"
Okay.
It's easy.
Shopping bags are full.
Yes.
It's time to shift gears from retail therapy to exploring the city.
Okay.
Those iconic landmarks, hidden gems, cultural hotspots.
Sightseeing.
Sightseeing.
It's the best.
And this is where those phrases for asking directions, clarifying information, navigating transportation,
absolutely,
really come in handy.
Because you're out and about.
Yeah.
You're exploring. You're likely to need those phrases.
Okay, so picture this. You're standing on a bustling street corner.
All right.
You've got a map that seems to have a mind of its own.
I've been there.
And you're trying to find your way to that must-see museum.
Right.
Don't panic.
No.
Locals are often more than happy.
They are.
To point you in the right direction.
They love to help tourists.
So how do you approach someone for directions?
A polite... Excuse me.
Okay.
Could you tell me how to get to, and then the landmark or attraction? Perfect. And then what if...
Yeah.
You're not sure you understood the directions correctly.
Don't be afraid to ask for clarification.
Right.
You could say, could you repeat that, please?
Nope.
Or, I'm not sure I understood. Could you please show me on the map?
Okay, so you're not afraid to ask for help.
No, ask away.
Yeah.
People are generally happy to help.
And what about if you're trying to figure out the best way to get somewhere?
Okay.
Like, should you take the bus, the train, a taxi?
You can ask, what's the best way to get to, and then the landmark or attraction?
Okay.
Or is it better to take the bus or the train?
All right, so you've successfully navigated your way.
We did it.
To that must-see museum.
Yeah.
You've admired the exhibits.
Yes.
You've soaked up the history and culture.
Yeah.
And now disaster strikes.
Oh, no.
You've lost your wallet.
It's a traveler's worst nightmare.
It is.
But don't worry.
Okay.
Even in stressful situations like this, knowing the right English phrases can help you get the assistance you need.
Okay, so panic is setting in.
Take a deep breath.
Okay, deep breaths.
Stay calm.
Okay.
And then if you're in a public place, approach a staff member or someone who looks like they might be able to help.
Right.
And you can say, excuse me, I've lost my wallet. Could you please help me? And be prepared to provide details about where you think you might have lost it.
Right.
What it looks like.
And then, of course, you need to contact your bank or your credit card company.
Absolutely.
To report the loss.
As soon as possible.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From navigating airports and transportation.
Yeah.
To ordering food, shopping, sightseeing.
We did it all.
Even handling emergencies.
We're prepared for anything.
We are feeling empowered.
I feel empowered.
Me too.
Yeah.
But remember, language learning is an ongoing journey.
It is.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
Ask for help. Embrace the learning process.
Every interaction is a chance to learn and grow.
Exactly.
Yes.
So as you embark on your next adventure, remember that language is not just a tool for communication.
Right.
It's a key.
It unlocks so many doors.
That unlocks a world of possibilities.
Exactly.
Well said. So, dear listeners, pack your bags, grab your passports, and don't forget those essential English phrases.
They'll be your best friend.
They will be your trusted companions on your journey.
Absolutely.
Helping you navigate the world with confidence and create memories.
Yes.
That will last a lifetime.
Beautiful.
Until next time, happy travel.
Happy travels.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Have you ever been in a conversation where you completely disagree with someone, but you don't want to, cause a scene?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Today, we're going to deep dive into the art of agreeing and disagreeing politely in English.
Nice.
Our source material is this really cool script for an instructional video.
Okay, cool.
And it's full of useful tips and tricks, whether you're, learning English or you've been speaking it your whole life.
It's interesting, right? Because even as a native speaker, sometimes those conversations can get really tricky.
Yeah, totally. I mean, how many times have you wanted to just blurt out, "You're wrong," but you can't?
All the time. But yeah, this script emphasizes how direct disagreement can come across as rude in English-speaking cultures.
It's all about saving face and being respectful, right?
Exactly.
So how do we do that? How do we disagree without causing a diplomatic incident?
Well, the script dives into a whole bunch of phrases and strategies.
Okay.
But what I think is most interesting is the psychology behind them.
Ooh, tell me more. So, for example, when it comes to agreeing politely, there's actually a lot of nuance.
Nuance, really. I just say, yeah, I agree.
Right. But sometimes you want to express really strong agreement. Let's say you're brainstorming with colleagues and you want to build on an idea.
Okay, yeah.
So the script gives examples I couldn't agree more, or Absolutely. That's a fantastic idea.
Oh, I see.
It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, totally.
But then there are times when you might not be like fully on board with an idea, but you don't want to shut down the conversation either.
Right, right.
And that's where more reserved agreement phrases come in.
Like what? Give me an example.
Things like, I see your point, or that's an interesting perspective.
Ah, okay.
You're acknowledging their viewpoint without necessarily, fully endorsing it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then there's this whole other category of agreement phrases that I think are super interesting.
Okay, what's that?
They're all about agreeing with addition. So it's like saying yes and.
Yes and. Oh, I get it. So you're adding your own perspective to the mix.
Exactly. Like you could say something like, that's true, and I'd also add that. Or, I agree, but have you considered?
Oh, so it's like collaborative.
Exactly.
Instead of just like blindly agreeing or disagreeing.
It's about taking that initial idea and like building on it together.
I like that. It's very constructive.
Yeah. And it can be especially helpful in situations where you need to be, diplomatic.
Right.
But you still want to contribute your own thoughts.
Okay. So we've talked about the art of agreeing politely, but what about the elephant in the room?
Uh-oh. What's that?
Disagreeing. How do we disagree politely without, starting an argument?
Yes. Well, the script breaks down several strategies for disagreeing politely.
Okay, cool.
And one of the most effective, I think, is the art of softening the blow.
Softening the blow. What does that mean?
It's all about using phrases that acknowledge the other person's perspective before presenting your own.
So instead of just blurting out, you're wrong, you could say.
You could say something like, I understand your perspective, but...
Okay.
Or, I see where you're coming from, however. These phrases create a sense of empathy and respect.
Gotcha.
Before you, introduce your differing viewpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like building a bridge instead of putting up a wall.
I like that analogy.
The script gives a great example.
Okay, what is it?
Imagine someone says, everyone should work at the office full time. Instead of just saying, no way.
Yeah.
You could respond with, I understand your perspective, but some people thrive in a remote work environment and are actually more productive at home.
Ah, that's much better. It's more like a conversation starter.
Exactly.
Instead of just shutting down the conversation.
It's about inviting a deeper discussion.
I like that. And sometimes the best way to disagree politely is by asking questions, right?
Oh, yeah. Questions are powerful.
So instead of saying, that's ridiculous, you could say, have you considered? Or, what about? Oh, okay. So you're encouraging them to think about it from a different angle?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say someone says, social media is just a time waster.
Okay. Yeah. Common complaint these days.
Instead of dismissing their opinion, you could ask, don't you think it can also be a powerful tool for connecting with people and building communities?
Oh, that's good. You're not saying they're wrong, but you're like nudging them to consider a different aspect of it.
Precisely. It's about turning a potential argument into a shared exploration of ideas.
And sometimes that involves suggesting an alternative viewpoint altogether, right?
Right.
So if someone says this movie was terrible, you could respond with.
You could say, that's an interesting point, but I thought the cinematography was breathtaking.
So you're acknowledging their opinion while offering a different perspective.
Exactly.
Like, we might not agree on the plot, but can we at least appreciate the visuals?
Right. It's about finding that common ground, even amidst different opinions.
So it's not just about being polite. It's about understanding, like, the deeper dynamics of human interaction.
I think so.
This is so fascinating.
It is right.
I feel like I'm already learning so much.
Yeah, me too. It's like we're building a toolbox for navigating those tricky conversational moments.
Speaking of tools, there's one more strategy the script highlights that I think is really interesting.
I get. What is it?
Remaining neutral.
Neutral. So like not taking sides.
Exactly. Sometimes the best approach is to simply acknowledge the validity of both perspectives.
Oh, okay. I think.
Without necessarily aligning yourself with either one.
That makes sense. But how do you do that without sounding like you're just, dodging the question?
Well, the script provides some helpful phrases like, I'm not sure I agree entirely, but... Or that's a valid point, though, I'd argue.
So you're creating space for disagreement without getting overly emotional or taking a firm stance.
Precisely. If someone claims online learning is always better than in-person learning, you could respond with, that's a valid point, though. I'd argue that it depends on the individual and the subject matter.
Right. You're acknowledging their point, but you're also introducing the idea that there might be more to the story.
Yeah. It's a more nuanced approach, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of politeness and some specific strategies for agreeing and disagreeing gracefully.
Right.
But even with all the right phrases, tone and delivery can make or break a conversation, right?
Oh, for sure.
So how do we strike that perfect balance between being assertive and being respectful?
Well, the script goes on to outline 5 key strategies for staying polite, no matter how heated the discussion might get.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with those strategies.
Okay, so the first strategy is all about using positive language. Like instead of saying, "you're wrong," which can be kind of confrontational.
Right, yeah, that's never good.
You could try something like, "I have a slightly different perspective."
Yeah, I see, that's much softer.
It's about, presenting your viewpoint without invalidating the other person's experience. And this actually ties into the next strategy, which is maintaining a calm tone of voice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Have you ever noticed how when someone starts yelling, it just makes you want to yell back?
Totally.
It's like our instinct is to match their energy.
But yeah, if you can keep your voice calm, and even it can really help de-escalate the situation.
And even though this is an audio-only deep dive, the script also mentions the importance of body language, like making eye contact and keeping an open posture.
Right. Even if you're not face-to-face, like in a phone call or video chat, those nonverbal cues can still come through.
It's about conveying respect and a willingness to listen.
Exactly. But, sometimes I struggle with finding the right words to express disagreement without sounding too harsh.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I don't want to be rude, but I also don't want to just back down from my position.
Totally. So what do we do? How do we find that balance?
Well, the script talks about using what they call hedging words.
Hedging words, what are those?
They're words like maybe, perhaps, and a little that can kind of soften your disagreement.
So instead of saying, I disagree with that idea.
Right, which can sound pretty strong.
You could say something like, I'm a little unsure about that idea.
Exactly. It conveys a similar message, but with less force.
So it's like taking the edge off a little bit.
Yeah. And it also makes you sound more open to considering other perspectives.
I like that. But why does that work? What's the psychology behind it?
Well, hedging taps into this psychological principle called saving face.
Saving face?
Yeah, it's all about allowing the other person to, maintain their dignity and avoid feeling cornered.
I see.
By using those softer words, you're basically saying, hey, I respect your opinion, even if I don't fully agree with it.
So it's not just about being polite, it's about understanding the social dynamics of the situation.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in how your message is received.
That's really interesting. I'm definitely going to try incorporating more hedging words into my conversations.
I think it's a really useful technique. And speaking of useful techniques, the script also emphasizes the importance of acknowledging the other person's point before disagreeing.
Oh, yeah, that's so important. It shows that you're actually listening and that you respect their opinion even if you don't share it.
Right. It's about validating their perspective before you introduce your own.
So you could say something like, so you're saying that.
Exactly. Or if I understand correctly, your view is.
It's like you're building a bridge of understanding before you venture into potentially different territory.
Right. And remember, validating someone's perspective doesn't mean that you agree with them.
Right, of course.
It just means that you acknowledge their feelings and understand their point of view.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction.
And that can go a long way in creating a more, open and productive conversation.
Okay, so we've talked about softening the blow, using hedging words, and acknowledging the other person's point. What else?
Well, the last strategy the script mentions is to end on a positive note, even if you haven't reach complete agreement.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You don't want to just storm off in a huff.
Right. It's about leaving the door open for further discussion and maintaining a sense of goodwill.
So how do we do that? What are some good phrases to use?
You can say something like, we might have different opinions on this, but I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Or, it's been great discussing this with you, even though we don't see eye to eye on everything.
Yeah, I like that. It keeps the conversation from ending on a sour note.
It's about preserving the relationship, even in the midst of differing viewpoints.
Because ultimately, that's what matters most, right?
Exactly. Relationships are more important than always being right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but how do we put all of this into practice?
Well, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Haha, I love that saying.
The script actually provides some helpful practice scenarios.
Oh, cool.
That allow you to, apply these techniques in various situations.
So it's like a chance to test drive all these strategies before you hit the real world.
Exactly. The The scenarios cover a variety of situations, ranging from casual conversations with friends to more formal settings like meetings.
Okay, let's try one. Let's say my colleague says, I think we should prioritize work-life balance to improve employee satisfaction and productivity. How would I respond using these techniques?
You could say something like, I couldn't agree more. Prioritizing work-life balance is crucial for both employee well-being and overall team performance.
Okay, so you're expressing strong agreement and reinforcing their point.
Exactly.
Now, what about a scenario where I need to disagree politely with a friend? Let's say my friend says, pineapple on pizza is the best thing ever invented.
Oh boy, a classic debate. In this case, remember the principle of saving face.
Right.
So instead of saying, that's disgusting, you could use a hedging phrase like, I see what you're saying, but I'm not a huge fan of pineapple on pizza myself.
Yeah, that's much better. It's like you're acknowledging their opinion without making them feel bad.
Right. And you can even add a bit of humor to lighten the mood, like, maybe we should agree to disagree on this one. How about we order half and half?
I love that. It's like, we can still be friends even if we have different pizza preferences.
Exactly. But what about those trickier situations where you have to disagree with someone in like a professional setting?
Oh, yeah. Those can be tough.
Like, let's say you're in a meeting and someone suggests cutting costs by reducing employee training budgets.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right, because you want to be respectful of their opinion, but you also want to advocate for what you believe is best for the company.
So how do you navigate that?
You could say something like, I understand the need to reduce costs, but I'm concerned that cutting training budgets could impact employee performance and morale in the long run.
Okay, so you're acknowledging their point about cost reduction, but you're also highlighting the potential downsides of cutting training.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, between being honest and being diplomatic.
And having a calm tone of voice like we talked about earlier.
I know, definitely.
This is all so helpful. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand the art of polite disagreement.
It's a skill that takes practice, but it's definitely worth it.
It's not about avoiding conflict altogether. It's about approaching it with grace and respect, even when things get a little heated.
Yeah, it's like we're learning a new dance.
I like that analogy.
Where we can move gracefully through these disagreements without, stepping on each other's toes.
Exactly. And this deep dive has given us so many moves to practice.
It really has.
It's not just about sounding polite, right? It's about creating a space where everyone feels heard and respected, even when, opinions clash.
Well said. And what's really cool about these techniques?
What's that?
They can be applied in pretty much any situation.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, from casual conversations with friends to more formal settings like, business meetings or negotiations.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I've been thinking about how these techniques translate to the digital world,
Interesting.
Like, how do we apply these principles to online communication where it's so easy to misinterpret tone and intent?
That's a great question, and it's definitely something to be mindful of because tone and nuance can get lost in, text messages and emails and all that.
Yeah, totally. So what can we do about it?
Well, I think the first step is to be even more mindful of our language when we're communicating online.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like choosing our words carefully, avoiding sarcasm.
Right.
Because things can so easily be taken out of context.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe emojis can play a role too, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like a thoughtful emoji after a statement of disagreement could help to soften the blow.
Exactly. It's about using all the tools at our disposal to communicate effectively.
And remembering that even though we're interacting through a screen, there's still a real person on the other side.
Absolutely.
So as you navigate your next conversation, whether it's online or offline, remember the tools we've explored today.
Right.
Choose your words carefully, listen actively, and approach disagreements with, grace and a genuine desire to understand.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about winning or losing an argument.
Yeah, it's about connecting with each other
Right.
and building stronger relationships.
Exactly.
Well said. That's a great note to end on.
I think so too.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the art of agreeing and disagreeing politely in English.
It's been fun.
Until next time, happy conversing, everyone.